Does it really matter if you call it worship practice or worship rehearsal? In this video, I'm going to talk about the difference between those two things, and I'm going to give you 3 tips so that you can have better practices coming up. Hey there, my name is Glory, and this is your worship mentor, where my goal is to help you grow into a stronger worship leader right where you are. If this is your first time watching my video, please consider subscribing, and if this video is helpful to you, hit the like button, and that'll really help me out, and I would so appreciate it. In another video, I talked about worship rehearsal and the difference between rehearsal as opposed to practice. And in this video, I want to talk a little bit more about what practice is, and also just give you some tips so that you have a more effective practice time on your own. On my worship teams in the past, I've always referred to worship rehearsal as the time that we spend together. We'd meet once a week, and that was where we really hammer out the finer points of playing together as a band. So, as I said in my other video, which you can check out here, you have your parts figured out, you know the songs, you know the lyrics, you know the key, you're all ready to go, and it's the time where you come together and make sure everyone's on the same page. Now, worship practice is different because as musicians and singers, we always need to have a time on our own where we're actually practicing what we're gonna do. So I believe as a musician, as a singer, practice is something you do multiple times a week on your own to get better at what it is that you do. At rehearsal, we run through songs as a band. In practice, I believe that's your space to learn the songs, to majorly mess up, and to experiment. Your practice is your time to really hone in your sound and figure out what you want to contribute to the team and how you want to bring yourself. So with that, I want to give you 3 tips so that your practice time can be more effective. Tip number 1, get comfortable. Make sure you're in a place and in a space where you feel comfortable making mistakes. That is a tongue twister. As a musician, it's always been important to me to have a space all to myself, whether that's my room or a room at my church or whatever it is, where I feel like I can practice and be loud and not be judged if I hit a wrong note or not feel pressure to get everything exactly right. That's what practice is. It's the space for you to make mistakes. So you want to make sure that the actual physical space that you're in is a comfortable place for you to do that. Tip number 2, give yourself permission. It's so important to give yourself permission to try new things, to make mistakes, to fail. It's gonna happen. So regardless of when it happens, if you give yourself permission and you give yourself the space to actually fail, it'll allow you to accept it and to expect it and to just be okay when it happens and just roll on and move forward. Play is so important. You need to have the freedom to just play around on your instrument, to just play around with your voice. Try a riff that you've never tried before. Just try doing something different. When you give yourself permission, you actually get to discover some really cool things creatively. Tip number 3, I believe this is the most important tip for any musician, any worship leader, any singer. Spend time in worship. Now, when all has been said and done, you've run through the songs of the set list, you figured out what you're gonna do, you understand how the song goes and how everything's supposed to add up and what you're supposed to bring of yourself. That is a great time for you to just spend some time by yourself in worship. As leaders, when we have spent time in the secret place and when we have spent time worshiping God on our own, that translates onto the stage. It's so important that we're getting time on our own, playing our instrument and worshiping God, because how can we lead other people into a place of worship if we haven't been there ourselves? So that's my biggest tip, my biggest encouragement is spend some time in worship. And sometimes that looks like playing a song that you just love. That's not on the set list, but it's a song you love. Sometimes it looks like just singing out spontaneously or playing spontaneously. If you've ever heard the phrase minister on your instrument, that means when, say, a piano player just plays. They just play whatever it is that comes into their heart, comes into their head, whatever you want to call it, and they're worshiping through their instrument. So as a guitarist, as any kind of instrumentalist, I so encourage you to do that. Just play and just let the sound of your instrument be worship to God, because that connection is so important and it's so beautiful. And the joy that you feel and all of the things that come from spending time in that place translate onto the stage, and those are the things that your congregation can glean from as well. Question of the day: what is your practice time like? How do you spend it? What are some things that might be challenging to you? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to start a dialogue down there. So let me know how your practice times go in the comments. That's all I've got for today. If you've watched this far, thank you. I so appreciate it. If this video has provided value to you, please give it a thumbs up and like it. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. That's all I've got for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.